Coming up on show 795, a very fast BMW 5 Series. In fact, an all-electric M5. Stick around and I'll tell you more. Plus on the podcast today, we're talking about how popular NIO's battery swapping technology is. And we'll answer your question of the week, as we always do on Sunday. Plus a lot more as well. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily for Sunday, 31st of May. It's Martyn Lee here, and I go through every EV story so you don't have to. Let's get on to this BMW story here. Bits of this make perfect sense. Bits of it make no sense to my tiny brain as well. So let me just give you the news, and let me give you what various magazines have said and see if it makes any sense to you. It could just be me, or maybe you'll agree. I don't know. But here's the story. Now we know the full scoop on the updated BMW 5 Series. Now, the new 5 Series was finally revealed and shown to the public a few days ago. Enthusiasts are still waiting patiently on the performance version of the BMW 5 Series, the M5, the 7th generation of the 5 Series, and the M5 will be the very, very rapid version. While it was teased on Instagram by Marcus Falscher himself, with a reveal coming in the following weeks, the future of the M5 does seem to be electrified in various forms, according to Motor1.com. Well, looking at a source that car magazines say they stumbled upon, expect the next generation M5 to pack serious power via electric motors. Well, internal documents from BMW and a bit of guesswork along the way say that a plug-in hybrid version will use the same engine as in the upcoming X8M. Wow, that is a beast. That is a twin-turbocharged 4.4-litre V8 with an electric motor. It's a plug-in hybrid, 750 brake horsepower. That is a crazy amount of power, but it gets better. Car magazines say that the M5 could well be going full electric, and if they do, it'll be powered by the 5th generation BMW drivetrain technology. I get that because that's what's going in. The first time we'll see that is in the iX3. That's the all-electric version of the X3. That's the one that's going to be made in China only and exported around the world. So that uses the 5th gen pouch type cells that are going into the BMWs. Car magazine saying that BMW could switch to Tesla style round cells for what they say is stability, safety and added performance. Well, I don't agree with that, because Tesla, if anything, are moving away from that. Elon has been talking increasingly recently about why do they use this form factor of they're called 18650s, 18 millimeters by 65 millimeters. They're the big AA batteries, and then they moved on to 2170s or 21700s. And why did they do that? Because it was what they knew how to do at the time, and it was the development path they're on. But he said that it's not like that's the best, that's just what they have, and you make those cells into modules and the modules into battery packs, and they only do that because it's what they've always done. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the optimum, which is why when Battery Day comes around next month, what are we in, June tomorrow, whenever Battery Day is, many people are expecting Tesla to start to move away from that form factor that they originally started at. Not get rid of it completely, but just start to use more pouch cells. These are maybe 3 to 4 kilograms, using some different chemistries. Maybe the performance isn't up there, but it's certainly cheaper and is good enough for everything but maybe the next-gen Roadster. So that is the first prediction that they make in CarMag, and I wouldn't go with that. They say that the energy cell is rated at 135 kilowatt hours. And again, they're mixing terminology there. Car Magazine saying the energy cell is 135 kilowatt hours. The battery would be rated at that. The cells are what are the individual elements of a battery. They say that it can be hooked up to a 400-volt charger at 350 kilowatt speeds. And that just doesn't ring true to me. So I don't want to debunk this whole article, but at 400 volts, so a 400-volt charger, which is what most chargers are around the world. There are some variances, but for batteries rather, so most EVs run at around 400 volts. Okay, so if you were on a 400-volt charger going to get 350 kilowatt charge speed, if you do the kilowatts and the volts into amps, that's what going to be. That's got 875 amps. I don't believe that. Not in a million years. You are not going to get 875 amps down a cable in a million years on the next gen BMW M5. Not going to happen. So they're not going to get 350 kilowatt charge speeds on a 400 volt system. They're not. It's not going to happen. Are they going to get it on an 800 volt system? Yes, very possibly. Of course, Porsche do with the Taycan. Porsche get all the credit and publicity for being 800 volts, but there's others that have been doing it for a very, very long time, like the Rimac, for instance. They've been using 800 volt technology for donkey's years now. Well, the Car Magazine article goes on to say it's likely that BMW will upgrade to the 800 volt chargers. I would say so, absolutely. Well, again, it's not really the charger, it is that would be the voltage of the pack, and whether that is running two 400 volt systems in tandem or not. But anyway, with a maximum range of 435 miles, total power is 1,006 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. So internal documents claim this. It would be amazing if a BMW M5 came out that did 435 miles, which actually on a 135 kilowatt hour pack is very reasonable. Actually, that's not out of this world. In fact, if anything, it's down on the efficiency of Tesla. But total power, 1,000 brake horsepower, yeah, it's doable. 0 to 60, 2.9 seconds, yep, very doable. We would love to see at least some of these bits of this story ring true. If you disagree with me on any of those bits, by the way, I am no electrical engineer. I'm no battery expert, so please, if I'm wrong on any of those bits, then please do correct me, and I'll read out any of your corrections anytime if I've misread a situation. All right, I'll pop a link in the show notes, by the way, to that article, so you can have a little look yourself and see what you think. Right, moving on. Let's talk about battery swapping with NIO. Cumulative NIO battery swaps. About 500,000 now. Back on May 25th, NIO reached the milestone of 500,000 battery swaps in China. They got the ES6 and the ES8 cars. Well, the first NIO battery swapping station was opened 2 years ago now, almost to the day, actually. It was May 20th, 2018. So basically, for the last 2 years, they've been swapping batteries on cars. There's about 39,000 NIOs on the road, says Highway Tail website. Over those 2 years, NIO has put in 131 stations in 58 cities, adding 50 more this year for long-distance travel. Not all of the NIO drivers do want to use battery swap, but some of them do. According to data from March, about half of all the cars sold have swapped their battery at least once. All NIO vehicles are enabled to use battery swapping stations, and the station offers both pack capacities. That's the 70 and the 84. 70 kilowatt hour, I should say. If you're new to the podcast, I always try to avoid using too much shorthand language. And 84 kilowatt hours, which is how much energy is stored in the battery packs. Soon there will be a 100 kilowatt hour pack option, same as Tesla's top pack. NIO is developing and a second generation of battery swap station coming as well, which won't require the vehicles to be lifted up. It should be simpler, more reliable and cheaper. And it'll save time. NIO encourages their customers to schedule battery swapping. There's not often a queue, but there can be a queue in these things. At least if you book a time, you've got your set time, you haven't got to wait for other cars that have just turned up without booking. Very interesting. It's not something that I've given too much thought to, battery swapping. We know that early Teslas, well, the Model S actually was engineered, and Tesla opened battery swap stations in California. And nobody used them. That is a broad brushstroke I'm painting with. Some people used them, I'm sure, but people didn't want, Tesla owners didn't want to use them. And could that be because the battery pack was so big, because they were charging at home, because they couldn't get the hang of buying a car for a lot of money and then taking out a bit of it, arguably the most expensive bit, and replacing it with another bit that might be, have been rinsed by someone doing drag runs or track runs. The battery that was going in could perhaps have been of a worse quality. Did people just not get their head around, look, I own all of the car, I'm not going to let Tesla take a bit out and put another bit in just for a battery swap. So anyway, Tesla packed up that idea and didn't go any further with it. So maybe it's going to be a Chinese thing or a NIO thing. But I'd love to know what you think about the idea of battery swapping. At any time, you can email this podcast about any subject. The address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. We're moving on to Renault, and it was distressing to hear that Renault's Dieppe plant, which is home to the sports car brand of Renault's Alpine/Alpine, depending on how French you want to say it, will be closed as they attempt to right themselves after the impact of the pandemic on the business. We thought the closure would once again be the end of Alpine, but apparently there is hope, says Jalopnik. According to an Autocar report today, Alpine could actually survive all of this tumult despite the initial reports to the contrary, when it emerges that they could be looking at an all-electric future, and that makes so much sense when you think that they're a niche bit of Renault, but Renault have some good EV tech. But if you look at the cars they make, something like a two-seater sports car with not a lot of storage, well, that would be easy to make into an EV. There's plenty of room in the kind of the mid-engine style of their latest. So could the Alpine or Alpine go all electric? Well, it's not set in stone, but the brand's fate will be decided when the new Renault CEO Luca De Meo begins his tenure in July. Total electrification will certainly be a price to pay for the sports car brand that has long traded on simplicity, on low curb weight, and I can't say cheap and cheerful because the cars are certainly not cheap, but they are very cheerful. Alpine needs to sell more cars than it does, and the benchmark goal of 6,000 units a year that Renault set for the brand 3 years ago has been impossible to reach, with fewer than 4,500 units moved last year. Renault's proven, says Jalopnik, that the company is serious about EVs, even if unorthodox approaches might be necessary to get there. On the other side of things, it's clear electric sports cars can work too. Obviously, Tesla's ludicrous mode is very famous. You got Volkswagen's ID.R, which is a one-off project to showcase how quick you can make an EV go. But electric sports cars are really good. And actually, if you can take a brand that would otherwise have been closed down and maybe do some electric sports car stuff with Alpine, then it would be amazing to see that brand continue. Fingers crossed Renault do that. And finally, on the news side of things for today, the German ministry is proposing a €5 billion car bonus scheme. Germany's Ministry of Economics has proposed a £4.5 billion equivalent buyer bonus scheme as part of an impending stimulus package to boost car sales. Of course, Germans very proud of their German car industry. Two people very close to the matter said today, according to Yahoo News, the heads of the Social Democrats and Angela Merkel's Christian Democrats are presenting an overall stimulus package on Tuesday next week, which could total €80 billion, and the Economy Ministry's proposal is for purchase premiums to be paid to buyers of EVs and conventionally powered cars worth less than €77,000, with the scheme expiring at the end of the year, the sources said. Now, the Economy Ministry's plans foresee a basic premium of €2,500 per car, and that gets topped up to €3,000 per fuel-efficient car. Well, existing incentive programs would be increased for electric cars and hybrids. A slew of policymakers and industry groups have spoken out against free money, basically premiums for car purchases, arguing that the stimulus program should only adhere to climate change policies, not favouring one particular industry. And in fact, some petrol and I'm not sure diesel cars, but some petrol cars are classed as highly efficient in that scheme. I would chip in and say that, yeah, only cars with plug sockets on. Nothing wrong with a plug-in hybrid car. You don't need to worry about whether it does. I know certain plug-in hybrid schemes go by range, but you know, the best ones around at the moment do sort of 40 plus. I'm talking about the new Toyota RAV4 Prime recently doing 42 miles electric only. Some of them do 10 miles, some plug-in hybrids, but as long as you've got a plug, I would say put some sort of purchase premium on the car where you get an extra discount for buying a green car. And of course, the biggest stimulus should go, you won't be surprised to hear me say, on all electric cars. Okay, let's answer your question of the week this week. I was asking you about trucks, and electric trucks seem to be what 2021 is shaping up to be all about. And we're not just talking about Tesla Cybertruck, but many coming out. And so I was asking about specs. What is it that you desire from an electric truck? Anything, really. And I was looking forward to hearing from what you had to say. We'll start with a review that came in from Podbean, which is a podcast app. And I can't tell who left it, so if it was you, thank you. It says, I ordered the Tesla Cybertruck, but I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do with it, living in suburban Chislehurst. Going to be fairly large. Yeah, it is, really. So maybe what this person wants is a slightly smaller Cybertruck. Hello to Howard Anthony Smith via Patreon. He says, I realise you live in a country that doesn't have pickup truck culture, but I grew up in the western part of the United States where pickup trucks were pretty much a necessity. For example, we did not have paved roads for many years, and there are still some locations where the road surfaces still need to be regularly grated and tyre ruts need to be filled in with gravel. It's from those experiences that trucks were outfitted with gear to handle all challenges. All trucks need protected storage, extended range, spare tyres, a very heavy lift jack, all-terrain tyres, camping equipment, and comfortable bench seats. I dreamed of an all-electric pickup from Ford for years until I saw the Rivian, says Howard. Then I saw the price tag and I went back to dreaming mode. My current pickup of choice is the Cybertruck from Tesla. It has everything I want, plus it wins top trumps against most sports cars. And I have a reservation for one. He says it's going to work great with our off-grid travel trailer. That's interesting. Hello to Rajiv, who says the ideal specs of an electric pickup truck are those that would entice truck buyers who are EV naive. Currently the top-selling trucks in America, the Ford F-Series, like the Ford F-150. F-150 XL starts at $28,700, which is too cheap right now for an EV to compete with. It's true, isn't it? But isn't Rajiv, isn't the low-end F-150 pretty sparsely specced out? As in, you don't get too much for your money, but on the higher end, like the King Ranch, they're selling for $45,000 or upwards of $60,000. An electric pickup truck with aggressive styling, similar price, all-wheel drive, a range of 450 miles, and 0 to 60 of 5 seconds or less with a towing capacity of 10,000 pounds. That's going to do very, very well, regardless of how it's powered. David Nye says, great range, a charging network, towing capacity for my 3-ton caravan. Great technology with autopilot, seating for 4 or 5, great safety and toughness, and to be able to cope with door dings or even sledgehammer blows. Smiley face, he says. Yes, he is indeed talking about Tesla's Cybertruck, which is reasonably affordable, but we'll come on to that at the end of today's podcast, the A word I'm going to be asking about. But let's move on. For now, Nigel Baker saying it should have a lift gate fitted as standard so it can fulfill its description. Marty Young says that EV trucks regarding desired specs boil down to one thing and one thing only: range. Lots and lots and lots of lovely range, and more range than is even reasonable at first glance. Why? Because many people buy a pickup truck for one reason: to tow things, says Marty. Boats, campers and trailers, and towing even a medium-sized camper will cut your range by half. So, for an EV pickup to be taken seriously by truck buyers, it needs a range of 500 or even 600 miles to travel a couple of hundred miles towing something heavy. AJ Tarquino says, how about Tesla offering the option of a small refrigerator in their electric truck? Maybe even the frunk being cooled. It would be grand for those buying groceries, and your food could stay cold or even frozen on the drive back home, not having to hurry and get home with ice cream that's melting. Even going away for camping and overnight stays, and the ice cream the next morning is still frozen. Well, you've got the voltage there in the main pack. I agree. You've got easily enough stored energy to do that, and I dare say when you get to your destination of choice and you've put your car keys down for the night, not that you have a car key with a Tesla, but you know, your mobile phone isn't being used to unlock the car, and you want to crack open a cold beer or 10, that would be very nice as well, without having to have ice melting all over the place to keep your beer cool. I hate the sound of the word ice, he says, because it's the same letters as fossil gobbling cars. However, he's a promoter of EVs. And AJ Tarquino, I appreciate your email. Jason Harper finishes us off this week saying, I'm trying as hard as I can to convince my wife to buy a Cybertruck versus a Model Y. My reasoning is, it's a similar price and has more uses. It seats the same number of people. It has more storage, more open-air storage for transporting furniture. You can go camping in it, towing a trailer. Plus, he likes to turn heads when he drives. Jason drives an i3 in Tennessee, which is a rare sight, he says. And when you put it like that, actually, yeah, what do? Do you get a top-spec Model Y, or do you get a Cybertruck when it's got a bed cover, it's waterproof, you can put stuff in the back, it seats the same, if not more, although it's big. Cybertruck isn't getting any smaller. Elon saying this week, following up the Jay Leno show, which was recorded a long time ago, he said on the show that they might make the truck 5% smaller, and then Elon tweeted around the time that was on TV earlier this week, maybe just before, maybe just after, to say, look, been talking about Cybertruck, it's not getting smaller, they're leaving it as it is. So it's a big vehicle. We'll start back where this feature began, and the person here in the UK who says they've ordered one, but it's not really an order, is it? But you've put your deposit down, and yeah, it's very, very big for UK roads, not for the main roads or the motorways or the main routes, but for many UK roads, Cybertruck is very, very big. I mean, Model X is too big in many places. But we're a small country, so we'll see. Let's go the other end of the scale. New question of the week time. I want to know what you think about this. I'm really interested in your thoughts on this one. Critics are always telling us that EVs are only for the rich. So, what do you view as affordable prices? Because I was talking to someone this week about the kind of tranche of EVs that either are here now or coming. So let me try and very quickly explain that those in the 20-something £1,000 bracket, which would be like the MG ZS EV, the Renault Zoe 50, ZE50, that's the top end, but also things like the Peugeot E208, Corsa E from Vauxhall/Opel, the DS3 Crossback E-Tense, and I must admit those last three cars are the same car. Well, same chassis, but same gubbins inside as well. But all costing from there about £26,000 to £30,000. And I was saying to someone, this is very affordable. It's a very affordable car. And then I kind of caught myself and thought, £30,000. Is that really affordable? My car was half that, and it gets the job done very nicely with a 41 kilowatt hour battery in the Renault Zoe battery, at least I must admit. But do I need to spend any more than that on an EV? So I was get to thinking, what is affordability in your mind? Is an affordable EV £5,000? Is an affordable EV 30? Or are you looking at the monthly prices, like nearly everyone is when they're buying a car? They're like, right, what's the finance on it? And so I'd love to know from you this week, what do you view as affordable prices? And if you can, let me know whereabouts in the world you listen as well. I think that'll make a big impact on what the number that you give as well. It'll add some context if we know where you live. All right, email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com, or leave a comment on the YouTube show. Thank you to 227 patrons of the show, a new premium partner to add tomorrow. Now we're into June, and those premium partners as of today are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for Clean Tech Talent, Porsche of The Village, Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, and like I say, a new premium partner tomorrow as well, beginning with a V and ending with Olvo. Right, let's move on. Partners are David Allen. Thank you, David. OEM Audio of New Zealand and evpower.co.nz if you are in New Zealand. Have you been to evpower.co.nz? You should do. Paul O'Connor. Thank you, Paul. TryEV here in the UK. TryEV.com. Gareth Hamer. eMobility Norway at eMobilityNorway.com. Bob Boothby from the Millbrook Cottages and Elopement Wedding Venue. ev-resource.com. And I'll mention Mia one final time, Mia Oppelstrup as well. Thank you very much. And all my executive producers, Alan Robson, Alan Shedd, Alex Banahini, Alexander Frank, Anders Hove, Andrea Jefferson, Asir Khalid, Ashley Hill, Bjard Fuchstak, Brent Kingsford, Brian Thompson, Bruce Bohannon, Charles Hall, Chris Hopkins, Colin Hennessy and Cams EV, Craig Coles, Craig Rogers, Damien Davis, Darren Bird, Darren Feach, Darren Sand from Yorkshire EVs, Dave Jewson, David Barkman, David Finch, David Partington, David Prescott, Derek Riley and Dublin EV Owners Club, and Don McAllister at screencastsonline.com, Enrico Stefan Chilo, Eru Kyuni Nyombi, Frederick Rovick, Free Jewel, who is James, Regine Rubin, Gilberto Rosado, Jeff Lowe, Headley Wright, Ian Griffiths, Ian Sear, Ian Watty Watkins, Jack Oakley, James Storr, Jerry Allison, Jim Duggan, Jim Morris, John Bailey, John C. Solar, John Lacey from Click Like Video NZ, John, who is Beardy McBeardface and Ken TVs, and John Nodell and Juan Gonzalez. Ken Morris, Kevin Mason, Carl Mayan, Lars Dallager, Lawrence D. Allen, Lee Brown, Luke Cully, and Marcel Lohman, Marcel Ward, Mark Bossett, Martin Croft, he's the Dorset tradesman, Marty Young, Matt Piccioni, Maz Shah, Michael and Luke Turrell, Michael Pastroni, Mike Rogers, Mike Winter, Nathan Gore Brown, Neil E. Roberts from Sussex EVs, Nigel Miles, Northern Explorers, Ohad Aston, Paul Ridings, Perry Simpkins, Paul Stevenson, Pete Glass, Pete Gordon, Peter and D. Roberts from Oxon EVs, Phil Mouchet, Philip Troutman, Pontus Kinblad, Raj Badwell, Rajiv Narayan, Ralph Jensen, Renee Schneider, Rob Cooling at appledriving.co.uk, Rob Hammonds, Robert Grace, Robin Tanner, Rupert Mitchell, Sari Kangasoja, Seiki Payne, Stephen Penn, Steve John, Thomas J. Tiss, the Plug Seekers EV YouTube channel, Tim Gutteridge, and William Langhorne. Catch up on socials by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.